divided against itself cannot stand, and that may be the only good thing about what's happening in the Islamic world right now. Welcome to SkyWatchTV. It's Tuesday, April 12th, 2016. I'm Derek Gilbert. A special broadcast today as we welcome the author of 7 books, a conference speaker who is in demand, travels around the country teaching. We managed to snag him between stops in Kansas City and Springfield, Missouri. Avi Lipkin joins us again today. Avi, thank you. One of the things that I think, we Americans, and you've got a perspective of as born and raised here in the United States, but lived most of your life in Israel.
Right.
So you've got a perspective looking in from the outside at our culture.
Correct.
As well as being one who's in it, so you can understand it to some extent. We are very narrow in our focus. If it's not happening here in the U.S., if it's not Donald Trump or Hillary Clinton, we don't care.
Right.
We don't have much of an understanding of the Islamic world. I'm guilty of this. It's only recently I really began to understand the differences between Shia Islam and Sunni Islam, and that there are divisions within those there's subdivisions within those divisions that are not in agreement with one another.
Right.
The civil war in Syria, is it just as simple as a civil war within the religion, the Shias versus the Sunnis?
Okay, well, of course, you have a coalition with Bashar al-Assad, which includes Christians, Druze. Druze are a group descended from Jethro.
Mm-hmm.
They're there. They're in Israel, they're Jordan, they're in Lebanon.
So Moses' father-in-law, they believe Jethro was their progenitor.
Absolutely. And they used to be Muslims, and then about 1,000 years ago, they were declared heretics because the Druze said that Muhammad was not the greatest and latest, but Jethro was. So they were persecuted and killed, and they fled to the mountains of Israel, Lebanon, Jordan, and Syria. And so they're a minority in Syria. So the Christians, the Druze, the Shiites are also a minority. They're only 10% in Syria. And then you have the Kurds in the northeast who actually want autonomy or independence. You have Yazidis. You have all these different, very historic groups going back 2,000 years or more. The rebels, quote unquote, in Syria, ISIS, Jabhat al-Nusra, Al-Qaeda, these are Sunnis. So basically, the population in Syria is 50-50. In other words, 50% Sunnis, 50% minorities, plus some Sunnis who were part of the Ba'ath party and are in the highest levels of Bashar al-Assad's government.
Okay.
I'm changing the subject a little, but for example, Germany has taken in 1 million Syrians because the Syrians are very well educated. Under the Ba'ath regime of Bashar al-Assad, Hafiz al-Assad, these people learn many, many trades. So of course you have some people who are illiterate, but the Syrian, the element known as the Syrian people, theoretically could be good for a German economy. The problem is if ISIS sends in 4,000 vanguard terrorists with the refugees, they can overturn Germany or Italy or Rome. They even said, these Italians were picking us up from Libya as soon as we enter international waters. We are sending our vanguard. We're going to blow up the Vatican, kill the Pope, and take Rome. Something they've been dreaming to do for years. I would say, look at Rome. Look at Rome. I think Rome is the next target. Because Europeans don't have a clue.
Well, and that's the subject of the new book coming out by Tom Horn and Chris Putnam here in just a few weeks. That's exactly what they're writing about. There are also, divisions within the nation of Israel, and this is something, again, we Americans, we're so focused on our own political games, and we barely understand our own political process, much less the political process inside Israel. Here in the United States, we're so used to having just 2 political parties. It's Democrat, it's Republican. Of course, that drives the Libertarians and the Greens and the Constitution Party people crazy. But it's a rigged game, essentially. In Israel, there are considerably more political parties. You've been working on developing a new political party. What is? Can you give us a kind of a thumbnail sketch of what is the political situation in Israel, and how is the person on the street viewing the situation in Syria? What are the concerns that people there have about things spilling over into Israel?
Well, the first thing I have to say is that I always say in the churches that Israel was like a flower in the middle of the desert. Now Israel's like a flower in the middle of a forest fire. And God has his hand on Israel, and he's protecting us, and these countries are all destroying each other. And God says in Exodus, I will fight for you, and you will be still. Be silent, and I will fight for you. And until now, Israel has been very fortunate not to get involved in these wars which are surrounding us. And actually, Israel has been strengthening the king of Jordan and strengthening the president of Egypt. What I wanted to share, by the way, this is my 4th book, and it's called Israel's Bible Block.
Yes.
And it talks about the party, which I'm registering on the 21st of April. I'm submitting it. It takes the Israeli government 6 weeks to review the signatures that they're all alive. You know, not like in America, where maybe 115% of a county votes for Clinton.
Yeah, I know. I grew up in Chicago,
Obama,
and I was 35 years old before I realized that vote early, vote often was not actual advice from the Cook County Board of Election Commissioners. So I understand.
And also from the morgue.
Yeah. We don't discriminate, alive, dead.
But this talks about the history of modern Israel in the last 100 years. And it explains why the situation today is ripe for a Judeo-Christian political party. And there will be many rabbis who are going to be very upset with what I'm doing. But the point is this. We, Jews and Christians, agree that the Messiah is a Jew from Israel who speaks Hebrew.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay? So for the Christians, it's Jesus Christ. For the Jews don't know. This Messiah, according to the Jewish definition of the Messiah, has to come not only for one group, he has to come for all the peoples of the world. And what is happening is that the Muslims want to kill the Jews on Saturday, Christians on Sunday. If you have 6 million Jews in America and 80% are intermarried with Christians in America, which is the true statistic. So we're talking about 6 million Jews and perhaps 3-4 million Christians, that both groups, husbands and wives, are going to be killed by ISIS and the children of the intermarriage. Kids can go to church on Sunday. They're not really Jewish, but if the father is Jewish or the mother is Jewish, they will all be killed.
Right.
It's like the Nazis. And so Israel's population today is 6 million Jews, 500,000 Christians, and 1.5 million Muslims. Now, the Jews in Israel, we have very, very few what I call white Anglo-Saxon Protestant Jews.
Yeah.
What we have are Jews who came from the Islamic countries. For example, my wife, Rachel. Half the population comes from Islamic countries. Half the population comes from former Soviet socialist bloc. We don't have what Alexis de Tocqueville called, the great American democracy in Israel. We have 33 political parties. Israel is a proportional representation system. So, for example, we have 4 primary blocs. We have, for example, socialist and left liberals. For me, liberal is an anomaly. It's not oxymoron. Liberals, the extreme leftists are liberals with a capital L. But the word liberal with a small L, these are people who really will listen. The liberals with the capital L, they won't listen. They're Soviet socialists. We have fanatic Muslim parties. We have very ultra-Orthodox rabbinic parties. Some of them are Hasidic, some of them are just simply Torah parties. And then we have the Likud and Israel Beiteinu and a few other parties which are, they are populist nationalist parties. And the prime minister, whoever he may be, has to put together a government based on 61 members of Knesset, at least, out of the 120.
So he's got to pick and make deals with some of the smaller parties in addition to his party in order to reach that number.
Everything is horse trading. This is like haggling in the market. It's not like here in America where you have a president, you might like him, you might hate him, but he's there for 8 years, or 4 years.
Yeah.
And nothing you can do about it. And, I have to tell you, I keep hearing about, we're going to impeach Obama. We're going to impeach Clinton. And in Israel, all the prime minister needs is that one member of Knesset get angry with him, the whole government collapses because he loses. Right now it's 61, but there are 3 guys who are troublemakers. And they're saying, if we don't get what we want, it's extortion.
Yeah.
If we don't get what we want, we're going to bring down the government.
Now, I've been reading that Prime Minister Netanyahu's been trying to negotiate with Herzog of a different party, but now Herzog is under investigation for some malfeasance. And
everyone is under investigation. You know what? I don't want to say this, but, every country gets its political leaders because of tax evasion or something in taxes. You got Al Capone because he didn't pay his taxes.
Right.
So we have another case of a minister who sat in jail already 7 years. He was the interior minister. Finally got out of jail, waited another 7 years to clear his name. And he's now the interior minister again. So now they caught him. They said, you have a house in the Galilee worth $2 million. Where did you get the money for this? He never declared it. So he's going back to jail again. So Israel's a very challenging place to do politics.
Well, again, I'm from Illinois, from Chicago. Illinois has got the best prison food in the country because we've got so many former governors who are living there now.
Hey, listen, we got a president and a prime minister, and we got rabbis in our jails.
That's it.
We got everything.
Well, let me ask you about this, because this is something that I've been curious about. Over the last few months, we've seen a stream of reports from Israel of Orthodox and ultra-Orthodox rabbis who are publicly declaring that Messiah his appearance is imminent. And here in the United States, we've got a lot of people who are solid Bible believers, but the dominant culture is not. Most people who call themselves born-again Christians really don't have as firm a grasp of Bible as that term implies. How much influence, and so when somebody like Franklin Graham says, this is what we believe, that doesn't carry a lot of weight with the majority of the American populace. How much influence do the Orthodox and ultra-Orthodox rabbis have with the average people in Israel? I mean, do most people believe that we're in the end times and that the Messiah is about to arrive?
Well, in my fourth book about the political party, I give a history of the renewed Jewish population in the land of Israel. The land was empty for many years. The Jews were always there, but small groups. And what has happened is that from 1922, more or less, until 1948, Israel was rock solid control of the socialists. And the rabbis, there were very few rabbis because Hitler killed many of the rabbis in the Holocaust. And so Ben-Gurion, who was a socialist and he was not religious, he wanted the votes of the religious to support him.
Sure.
He said, we will give you money, build your yeshivas, rejuvenate the Torah studying population. We will give you we'll give you exemption from the army. At that time, it was 500 students. Today's 50,000 students are exempt from the army because they're studying yeshivas. So what has happened is that the growth or the resurgence of the ultra-Orthodox and the Hasidim and other groups in Israel, all great people, but they all have a viewpoint which is not really very much interested in what's going on in the world or outside of the box, or with Islam or Christianity. These rabbis focus only on the Judaic studies and the Talmud and the Torah and everything like this. Now, what has happened is also, and if you look up in the computer the word Knesset, Knesset actually is the same word as the Greek ecclesia, which is the church.
Yeah.
So we say, for example, church in Hebrew, we say Knessia. The N and the L switch. So Knessia is ecclesia, it's the same word. The Christians in Israel have been 2% for 2,000 years. In 1989, 1990, all of a sudden, 1 million people come home from the former Soviet Union. 30% of them are Christian. So they go to the Russian Orthodox Church.
Yeah.
So now the Christians in Israel are 8%. We have many other groups in Israel. But the point I'm saying is, Israel today, I would say 50% of the Jewish population, or 50, maybe 55% of the population is traditional or religious. 20-30% are socialists, don't believe in anything. And about 20% are ultra-Orthodox. So, but if you look at the Knesset, that's what I was going to say. If you look at the Knesset in the computer, look it up in Google, and you look through the 20 elections over the last 70 years, you're going to see that the right-wing and religious parties are increasing, and the socialists, who were almost the majority in 1948, the socialists are decreasing. They're less and less. Every election, they're going down. They don't marry, they don't have children. Many of them leave the country, because if you're not a religious person, you leave the country. Israel's a very hard country to live in. People go to America, they go to Britain like any other people. So what happens is that the trend in Israel is more and more towards the tradition, and more people are talking about the Messiah now.
That's very interesting. Kind of the opposite of what's happening here in the United States.
Right. Israel's becoming more religious and more conservative all the time. And my party will be religious and conservative for religious and conservative Jews and religious and conservative Christians.
That'll be really interesting to see how that works together.
Yeah.
Yes. Avi Lipkin's website is vicmord.com. You'll see that on your screen, vicmord.com, if you'd like to buy his books or DVDs. And again, he will be one of the featured speakers at the Rocky Mountain International Prophecy Conference coming up in mid-July. That is sold out, but the live stream is available so you can watch it live. All 32 speakers will be featured at least once, and all of those videos will be archived for 6 weeks after the event. If you want information on subscribing to the live stream for the Rocky Mountain International Prophecy Conference, log on to the website of our friends at Prophecy Watchers. That's prophecywatchers.com. This week on SkyWatch TV, we talk about the threat posed to America by an electromagnetic pulse, an EMP weapon. How prepared are we? A congressional report said 90% of us would be dead within a year. Gary Haven, the writer and producer of the film Amerigeddon, is our guest. You can see that 4 times tonight on various stations and networks. You'll see that on your screen here rather than me reading through it. Tomorrow on the Cornerstone Network, and again Saturday on the Victory Television Network and the Christian Television Network. You can get a complete look at dates, times, stations, networks at skywatchtv.com. Look in the top menu bar there where it says channel listing. We depend on your support at Skywatch TV, and during the month of April, for your gift of $20 or more, we will send you this Amazing Grace glass block paperweight and the audiobook version of the Ahriman Gate, which was recorded by a guy named Derek Gilbert back when he had a voice. That's for your gift of $20 or more. Our gift to you is our way of thanking you for your support. And of course, for your comments and questions, the email address on your screen, dgilbert@skywatchtv.com. Thank you for watching as we keep watch. I'm Derek Gilbert, and this is SkyWatch TV. Most American families are just 72 hours away from disaster. Here at SkyWatch TV, we hope we can help avoid that.
I have been given permission to tell about this massive deal. There's one packet where you get one of each of these, breakfast and entree buckets, and again, 25 years shelf life. With that, you will get 15 of these Wise Fire packets. You'll get one of this water bottle. It will filter 99.9% of the impurities out of your water. Also, you will get for free this awesome auto kit.
Now, there's another package.
There are 2 more packages. The second package, you get 3 of each bucket. You pay for those, and you get the auto kit free, you get the Wise Fire free, and you get 2 of these bottles. There's a third deal. You won't believe this one. You get 6 of each of these. You get the auto kit free, you get the Wise Fire free, you get 2 bottles. Guess what else? You get the Mac Daddy.
Ooh.
50-gallon water storage container. If the electric grid goes down, one of these is going to come very handy.
3 packages for preparedness. One that feeds a family of 6 for a month. One that feeds a family of 6 for 3 months. And one that feeds a family of 6 for half a year. And of course, that includes the 50-gallon water tank. You'll find all of those deals online. The Wise Food Preparedness Specials at skywatchtvstore.com.
With Bashar al-Assad, which includes Christians, Druze. Druze are a group descended from Jethro. They're there. They're in Israel, or Jordan, and Lebanon.
So Moses' father-in-law, they believe Jethro was their progenitor.
Absolutely. And they used to be Muslims, and then about 1,000 years ago, they were declared heretics because the Druze said that Muhammad...
So you got a perspective looking in from the outside at our culture.
Correct.
As well as being one who's in it, so you can understand it to some extent. We are very narrow in our focus. If it's not happening here in the U.S., if it's not Donald Trump or Hillary Clinton, we don't care.
Right.
We don't have much of an understanding of the Islamic world. I'm guilty of this. It's only recently I really began to understand the differences between Shia Islam and Sunni Islam, and that there are divisions within those. There's subdivisions within those divisions that are not in agreement with one another.
Right.
The civil war in Syria, is it just as simple as a civil war within the religion, the Shias versus the Sunnis?
Okay, well, of course, you have a coalition.
Special broadcast today as we welcome the author of 7 books, a conference speaker who is in demand, travels around the country teaching. We managed to snag him between stops in Kansas City and Springfield, Missouri. Avi Lipkin joins us again today. Avi, thank you. One of the things that I think, we Americans, and you've got a perspective of as born and raised here in the United States, but lived most of your life in Israel.
Right.
House divided against itself cannot stand, and that may be the only good thing about what's happening in the Islamic world right now. Welcome to SkyWatch TV. It's Tuesday, April 12th, 2016. I'm Derek Gilbert.